Okay, Jason, for the short minute.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our September, not August, September General Club meeting. Today, for our activity, our very own Jim, KE7JIM, will be presenting on the Arden setup, the Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. And kind of good timing with the storms and everything else that will be coming through. So maybe we can find some good way to get ourselves up on a data network. So Jim, take it away.
Okie dokie. So let me first of all change this to speaker and then share the screen and presentation. So I have a quick, 17-minute video here. Okay.
Don't forget to share your audio.
Can everybody hear that?
No.
No. Okay, let me reshare. I thought about that for a second. I bet I need to click the
Toggle that.
share the sound. Alrighty, let's try that again.
View of the amateur.
Got it.
This is Steve, amateur radio call sign AB7PA, with an overview of the Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network, which is often pronounced ARDEN based on the acronym made from its first letters. ARDEN provides a way for amateur radio operators to create high-speed data networks for use in emergency and community service communication. At a high level, an amateur radio emergency data network is simply another tool for your EMCOM toolbox. As an amateur radio operator involved in emergency communication, you already have quite a few RF resources that you can use on a regular basis. ARDEN is yet another tool that you might want to have available if it meets an important EMCOM requirement, which we'll discuss further in a moment. Some seasoned operators may ask, why do I need another tool when the ones I already have are working just fine? And the simple answer is that you really only need ARDEN when it serves a useful purpose or meets an important need for your served agency. As always, you should use the right tool for the job. It might be useful to look at the evolution of EMCOM capabilities used by amateur radio operators through the years. Traditionally, we've used RF voice communication on a variety of radio bands. A typical message passing scenario involved giving the message to a radio operator who would write or type it onto a standard ICS 213 form. The message would then be relayed by RF voice comms to another operator who would write or type it on another ICS 213 form at the receiving end. The form would typically be hand-delivered to the recipient who would read and acknowledge the message. Any reply would then be handled through the same process from the receiving end back to the originator. This tried and true method has worked well, and it continues to work for handling much emergency and event traffic. In recent years, digital RF communication was included in the EMCOM toolkit, with the addition of things like packet radio and WinLink. These modes moved emergency message passing into the digital realm, and this minimized or eliminated some of the sources of error in the communication chain. Digital RF communication was mainly text-based and is relatively slow but very reliable. When ARDEN became available, it added several features which the served agency staff were already familiar with in their normal operations. These include the ability to transfer digital messages at relatively high speeds, for example in the multi-megabit range, as well as the capability for multimedia communication, such as voice, photos, and streaming video. It gave them the ability to use internet-style applications or programs, as well as to integrate their smartphones, tablets, and laptops into the EMCOM network. Let's take a look at one example of how amateur public service communication has evolved over the years. This photo was taken at a recent Marine Corps marathon in the Washington, D.C. area. It's one of the largest marathons in the country with around 100,000 participants and spectators. A group of amateur radio operators has been providing communication services for this event for many years. In the past, they used mainly voice and digital RF modes. Typically, they deployed ICOM ID1 data radios with speeds around 128 kbps, as well as packet radio with speeds around 9600 baud. Their after-action reports identified several concerns, though. They indicated that data transfer rates were too slow. And they also mentioned that the equipment was heavier and more complex to set up, as well as requiring higher capacity portable power sources. For a couple of years, they began experimenting with Arden, and recent deployments have been based around Arden networks. They indicated that they were able to achieve high data transfer speeds, somewhere in the range of 10 megabits per second or more, using equipment that was actually lighter weight, less complex, and required much less power to operate. In addition, they were able to provide voice over IP and video streaming and multi-user database access at all their sites. In many public service communication scenarios, Arden capabilities may not be required, but it would be a good idea to have it available if it's needed. When might you want to use Arden mesh networking? Well, it depends on what type of communication is required for your deployment. Arden is very useful if your served agency needs specific applications or services that require a computer network between sites. If high-speed digital communication is needed across an area, then Arden is a good solution. If the sites to be linked are located in areas where normal infrastructure has become unavailable, then Arden nodes can be used to create a portable off-grid data network. Also, if different resources are transient because they come and go at various locations, then an Arden node's ability to automatically join or form a mesh network might be a real benefit. Devices that support Arden come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes because Arden firmware can be installed on many types of inexpensive, off-the-shelf Wi-Fi radios. Arden allows us to repurpose commercially available radios as mesh network nodes, many of which can communicate on unshared frequencies that are set aside specifically for licensed amateurs. Most of these commercial radios are ruggedized and weatherproofed for outdoor installations. They typically use power over Ethernet, which makes them less complicated to deploy by having a single cable to the device. Many of them also have integrated high-gain antennas. The frequency ranges that are currently supported are the 900 MHz, 2.4 GHz, and 5.8 GHz bands. These microwave frequencies do require direct line of sight for reliable communication. Depending on the type of radios and antennas that are deployed, it's possible to achieve network links anywhere from a few miles to well over 30 miles between sites. There really is a wide variety of radio options for many different use cases. Some nodes are small indoor-only devices that provide both Ethernet and standard Wi-Fi hotspot coverage, as well as mesh RF coverage out to a limited distance. Other radios are intended to provide mesh RF coverage to a 90 or 120 degree sector of devices at a longer distance, and still other radios are designed for narrow beam, high-speed, point-to-point data transfers, typically between mountaintop or backbone locations. From this, you can see that different types of radios serve different functions within the wider mesh network. You could categorize them generally as local endpoint nodes, or intermediate relay nodes, or high-speed backhaul nodes based on the purpose that they serve for the network as a whole. This brings up an important issue. There's a common misconception that the only thing which qualifies as a mesh network is one with dozens of highly packed interconnected nodes in an area. And to me, that sounds more like a cellular network, which major corporations have spent millions of dollars trying to deploy. But we are all just volunteer ham radio operators on tight budgets, so we may never be able to achieve anything close to what people have in mind when they think of a dense mesh network. For our purposes in providing emergency or event communication as volunteers, we should focus on designing a network that's able to reliably transfer information to and from the locations where it's needed. A successful network is one that achieves its purpose. So design your networks to meet the specific requirements of a mission. We'll see some good examples of this in a moment, but we should keep this as our main goal for using Arden to provide MCOMs. As one of the Arden developers recently wrote on an online forum post, the goal is not necessarily to have a dense mesh. Rather, the goal is to have reliable datacomms with low latency and sufficient throughput at the sites where it's needed. In simplest terms, when you deploy Arden devices, you're providing a high-speed digital data network. Keep in mind that the network itself doesn't really accomplish your mission. The applications, programs, or services that ride your network are the key to accomplishing the mission. Now, your group may or may not be responsible for providing those applications and services. But if you do provide a program or service, be sure that what you provide is simple and intuitive to use, both for other amateur operators as well as for served agency staff members. Let's look at some specific examples. Whenever possible, deploy services that people are already familiar with. These days, anyone can pick up a telephone and call someone's phone number. They're used to chatting with friends and coworkers using their computer keyboard. Almost everyone can read and send an email, often with large files or photos as attachments. People are used to pulling up a photo or image in their web browser or watching a streaming video from a website. These are the types of services that would be a good fit for Arden networks. In this example, several stations were set up as part of an NCOMS exercise. Participants were able to pick up a standard telephone to dial or answer phone calls between distant locations, and all of that was transmitted by RF using Arden networks. In this example, an amateur radio group was given the mission to provide live video feeds across a specific area. Arden nodes with video cameras were deployed at key points along the route, and network-connected computers displayed each video stream on different monitors in the sheriff's mobile command post. After this event, someone from the served agency said, "This mesh camera system provided by RACES members was a valuable tool for our command staff. The parade was the safest in years. As we were taking the calls, we could see the activity occurring in real time. Incredibly, there was only one arrest for fighting, which just happened to take place within the camera's view." When a community-wide event or emergency occurs, one of the big challenges is keeping track of deployed resources, whether they're people or places or equipment. And in this example, an Arden network is being used to track resources and display messages that are sent between sites. The map on the left is a great visualization tool, and the main goal of this software was to increase the team's situational awareness. The specific software running on this mesh network was developed by Dan, K6 OAT for the Los Angeles Aries team. People at each location were able to see what was going on around them from their mesh-connected computer. Again, from Southern California, some of the mountaintop Arden backbone sites were deployed with video surveillance cameras on the towers. In this example, one of these mountaintop cameras captured and recorded the first views of the 2017 Thomas Fire. This recording was requested by the fire management authorities to be included in their after-action reports. The inset on the right is an image of the flight paths of tanker aircraft that were traversing the region. Flight data was captured using an ADS-B receiver and displayed from a Raspberry Pi computer on the Arden network. This example illustrates an idea for using small USB sticks that are running Arden firmware. With a set of these USB devices pre-configured as Arden nodes, any laptop with one of these devices then joins the Arden network and has the ability to communicate with other network resources. This would provide localized communication across a field or a parking lot, as shown here, but the laptops could also link to an intermediate Arden node, for example, on top of a mast in the center of the area, and from there the data could be transferred across longer distances to sites that were coordinating the event or the exercise. Almost any internet-style program that operates across a standard TCP/IP network can be deployed using Arden devices. This includes all of the examples shown in this list. We just need to keep in mind that the services we deploy should be aligned with the specific mission or purpose for the network that you're creating. Just because you can add nodes or services to a network doesn't mean you should add them. Each new item added to a network is going to use part of the limited processing and bandwidth resources that are available. So make sure that your network is successful by deploying exactly what's needed in order to accomplish your mission. Probably the best single place to go for additional information is the Arden website at www.ardenmesh.org. There you will find information about the types of radios that are supported, as well as all of the Arden software available for download. There's also a wealth of information on choosing devices and planning Arden networks for MCOMs. The forum provides a way to engage in a really active worldwide community of fellow hams who are working with exactly the same hardware and software that you are. They're eager to help answer questions, as well as testing various devices and network configurations. Regional and local Arden mesh groups can also be contacted through the forum. From the docs link on the Arden website or using the Read the Docs URL shown here, you can access an extensive set of documentation that's available on all different aspects of Arden, including detailed sections on installing and configuring radios, planning and modeling network links, providing different kinds of services for your network, and a variety of other topics. I hope this short presentation has been helpful as you get started on your journey with amateur radio emergency data networks.
So that is, find my control. Where's the control again? Bring it out. Hang on. Okay. There it is down here. So that presentation is from AB7PA. And let me reshare the screen again. Dang it. So AB7PA, I don't know exactly his connection, but he definitely has some really great Arden uh, films on different parts of how to upgrade, how to do voice over IP, the different projects. So I would highly suggest, and he's got a low subscriber count, but he's got really good links here for doing different things on the Arden software. So now I'm going to jump over and show you my setup. This is my test setup that I've got here on the table. And what I've got going on is I've got two voice over IP phones, one on the left and one on the right. And then I have um, two little nodes, an AR150 and an AR750. Then over on the other side, I have the other IP phone and a TP link that I'm going to be putting up on the roof. And let me see if I can switch to the next one. And outside, this is what it looks like, my link out to West Seattle. I'm linking up to the West Seattle Amateur Radio Club's mesh that they've got going. And this is the Myrtle Reservoir and the little tower that's over there. And this is what the dish antenna looks like. This dish antenna is 2.4 gigahertz, and it is pointing to West Seattle. And then this dish here is actually pointing to the east over to Tiger Mountain, and this is my ham WAN dish. And then this one here is my TV reception over the air. And this is one of the TP links that is actually, this one's pointing to the Myrtle Reservoir. And this is what it looks like, the pointing out towards Kurt Black's, I forgot his call sign, but it's pointing out to Kurt Black's house. And this is the cloudy lookout to Tiger Mountain and Lake Sammamish. And this is my link to downtown. I could get a real good link to downtown, but there's nobody yet with mesh networking over there. And just some other shots outside of the general area.
And Jim, those shots are just from your roof.
Those are up, yeah, standing up on my roof. This is the small little patch that I think Kurt Black is coming in through, right in between the trees. Okay. And then there's the top of the house. There you could see the top of the water tower. So the antenna is right over here. So I had to move over to the other edge of my roof in order to get a good shot of the tower that I needed to connect to. Otherwise, it's like right blocked with trees. So you do need line of sight with this. And again, all of these are shots from up on my roof. And let me go to, let's see. So I'm up on the website of Arden. Here's the link to the device selection that was mentioned in the video. And I'll send these links out later today in an email. So as you can see, I picked some of the inexpensive desktop models, and they're real easy to flash with the Arden mesh software. And let's see, here's a diagram of what I've got set up. Yes, Jason, I have gear acquisition syndrome to the max.
You and your gas, I tell you.
Yep, I have gas. That's the problem. So on the table inside the house, I have an AR750 that's connected over to the CP210, and it's going through a Netgear and this creates an Arden LAN, and then I have my 2 telephones that are connected into that same switch. All of these access points that are in blue, those are all communicating over the Arden RF. So outside, up on the roof, I have a CP210 that's pointing towards the to the water tower, and then this PBM2-400 that's pointing to Kurt Black. And inside my trailer in the back, both of those are going to power over Ethernet, and it's also has the Arden LAN inside the trailer. Then also in my house as the test setup, I have my laptop, and it's connected to the AR150, and then that has the links to all of the Arden RF, and then it also has a link to my Ubiquity Dream Machine, which is my home LAN. And then my home LAN also has an inside, and the red color is my regular home LAN connection for my laptop. And let me close that, move this, close that. Here's a list of all of my equipment and the Wi-Fi addresses that I'm keeping track of, and then the phones. The cool thing is when you flash these devices with the Arden software, it sets up all of the networking stuff for you, and that makes life a lot easier. So when you go to the website and first thing, go up to the main website, ardenmesh.org, and you can go to the supported platform matrix, and here you see the list, and anything in the dark green, those are fully supported. Anything that's in the light green is partially supported, but not recommended for new deployments. And the other colors are listed down here. So what I did was I bought the Arden 150, and you can see these are about $50 now. They vary in price. And the Arden AR, this one is unavailable. Yeah, they were about, I think, $40 at the time. So the prices are under $100, and then I also got the CPE 210, which is this one, and those are $40, and those are outdoor antennas that you can flash with the Arden network. And let's see. So then you, when you get those devices, go over into the how to install. They show you how to install the Arden firmware, and it gives you step by step. Here's how you do it if you buy a Ubiquity for the first install. And if you buy a MikroTik, how to do the MikroTik. And then down here at the bottom is the TP-Link. So it's a very easy process to get things up and running and installed. And once you get your firmware flashed, then you can go on to the next thing where it's the basic radio setup and how to adjust for that. I will show you on my laptop in just a second what they look like. Let me get this one. So there's also a Arden map that shows all of the locations, and once you have your system up on the air and connected with the rest of the meshes, you could see things up. And not everybody has shared their data with the online map, but there's a lot more West Seattle. So let me show you that. Okay. The West Seattle folks, which I'm working with right now, they're starting to build up a really good backbone and connection of mesh systems across the West Seattle. And here you can see where they've got me set up here, and I'm actually talking to the tower, which is the Myrtle Tower that's over here. And so there's my link that would go from here to here. And then my other link that I use is up here to Kurt Black's house. Oh, where's Kurt? Kurt is up over here. No. Well, anyway, that's where I'm connecting, is Kurt's up in this area here around the West Seattle. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to show. Where am I? If you go to so on the on this map, when you click on somebody's link, you see that they have the Maidenhead grid locators. Well, this is great, but I need to see what the profile looks like. And if I'm going to have a blocked shot, because some of these folks live down on the other side of the hill, like Greg over here, he's on the other side of the hill. You know, from here it looks like, oh yeah, I could do that, but there's actually a big mountain that's in the way right there. So that's not going to work. So
When
there's
you and I were looking up, see if you could have a shot over to my side.
right. I was looking to see, and of course, Jason and I are not going to be able to connect because we have a mountain in the way. So there is a cool Ubiquity link that you can look up, and it actually shows you when you put in the grid, take the latitude and longitude, you can see this is my link from my house to Kurt Black's house, and it shows a diagram down here of the terrain, what it looks like, and you can see I've got a really clear shot. And it estimates that if I use nanostation M2s on both sides, that it would get like 38 megabits per second. But if you look here to this location, and I forgot whose house that was, I get a partial obstruction as I get over to West Seattle. And it even shows it when I move here, you can see there's an area right here that gets blocked. And then this was somebody else's house, and it's really bad. So it's saying that I'm not going to be able to make it. But the good thing is there's another connection to the Myrtle Tower that is perfect. I can see it unobstructed. So those are some links to help you get things lined up. And the other cool thing that I like is down here, it tells you what the heading is, magnetic heading, and the tilt that you need to go to. So let's see, I am going to switch computers to show you my setup. Okay, let's see. Stop the video there and share a screen over here. Okay, so here is my mesh status, and this is for the AR150 over here on this side here, these are the neighbors or the nodes that I can see from my AR150, and that is the small little one that's sitting on the desk with the little antenna built on it. And you can see my, I also have a tunnel. I'm testing out a tunnel because right now my connection to West Seattle comes and goes. I can see, sometimes I can see somebody and then, the status drops off, or the connection kind of drops off. So this AR150 is on my desk in my front room, and the AR750 is also in my front room inside the house. You can see I've got current neighbors. This is all of my equipment here, but since I'm connected into the nodes through the power beam that's outside, it's picking up WR5J, that's Kurt Black's house, and the Rover and some of the other stations that are over in West Seattle. And when I go to the CP210, this is outside, and that's the one that's to the south, and it's the little panel one, so the CP210, and you can see where it's got the connection to Kurt Black. And 20 minutes ago, it was able to see the water tower, but now it's not seeing it. So it comes and goes. So I'm going to have to probably get a tunnel into somebody over in West Seattle, or get a better antenna and set up. But it is working. It's still experimental. One of the things that I added in was the service to my Grandstream phones. So here's the timed out. I can log into my phones and use the voice over IP Grandstream phone, and I can take that with the traveling AR150 and have a connection to other folks with voice over IP. Here's the power beam status and what he can see outside. And again, right now I don't have things pointed really to perfection. I need to, now that I found a Ubiquity site that I showed on my other laptop, I need to aim those dishes a lot better. One of the things that you see in services, everybody has Mesh Chat W7AW. That is the Mesh Chat software that we're using with the West Seattle group, and we have it set up as a zone here. So all of the West Seattle folks that are in the mesh can send messages back and forth, and it's a store and forward system. So if the node goes down for some reason, when it comes back up, you can see all of the messages that people have sent back and forth. And it's been in this particular mesh chat has been going on for quite a while. It goes back quite a number of days when they started doing things there. So that's pretty. I'm still doing a lot of testing with things and learning, but I wanted to invite everybody to, if they're interested in having a little.
Oh, Jim, you lost your audio. Still no audio.
He tripped over his cord.
Toggling all of his sources.
His headphones died.
I'll be curious to know, ask him kind of what was one of the biggest gotchas that he.
Sorry.
There you go.
Hey, can you repeat everything you just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
So
back to the
if
beginning.
anybody's
He sounded so.
I charged everything back up last night, and I guess didn't get a good charge.
Hey, Jim, what's one of the biggest gotchas? So you were setting up your network and buying the gear. What was a few of the lessons learned that maybe folks could get some help from if they were setting up their own network?
So one important thing is when you're outside, I found out setting things up, and let me go ahead and stop here and go back over here again. That is a really good question. When you're setting things up, I found out that it's got some really cool features in here. So on the power beam, when I was outside and you're lining things up, you go into the main status page and there's a signal to noise ratio, and then it has charts, and if you click on the charts, it will show the actual signal to noise level in real time status. So when you're trying to point to somebody, like when I'm trying to point to WR5J, I can actually get his signal report, and then you can even turn on sound to help you point to things.
So it'll give you a tone as
It'll
you're
give
trying
you a
to,
tone as you're trying to line things up. So that was one really cool thing that I found. And then just the getting used to the layout of what's going on the screen. Like the mesh status is one of the primary ones that you use because it shows these are the nodes that you're immediately connected to. And this is your local node that you're logged into. So right now I'm logged into the dish up on the roof. And you can see I've got two services, a speed test, and then the mesh chat. There are other folks that are running their cameras and stuff, which is the next thing that I want to grow and get into some outdoor cameras. You can see down here, I've got the two Grandstream phones that are connected to the CP210-2 right now, and this is the voice over IP that I can use mobile. And okay, just double checking the chats. Okay, next question. Any others?
Jim, I got one. How much of this could you actually, it looks like it's fairly portable if you wanted to take a crew, if you will, and set up a perimeter around something that, is it easily configurable as something like that on the spur of the moment if you have to go out and
That's the cool thing about the mesh, Arden mesh, is once you set it up, you can take all of your equipment, and if it's small and portable, then you can take it to another city, and they're all configured the same way, but they have the different IP addresses, so they'll mesh up and they'll find themselves as long as they're within the line of sight and within reach, and they'll link up, and you can start doing the mesh, share the networking. One of the things that I'm working on right now, and so are a few people in West Seattle, is connecting the ham WAN and using the ham WAN as the internet for the backbone of the mesh networking.
yeah.
And that way you can use the high-speed ham WAN for your internet, and then use the mesh network nodes as your local transport just between site to site. But yeah, my eventual goal is to have this portable so that I can take a laptop and a couple of little stations and just make a link in my neighborhood communication hub. But right now, I don't have good, steady, stable connection to West Seattle because I've got either trees or terrain that's in between me and the other folks. But the West Seattle folks, they're doing a lot, and I want to encourage people that are interested in doing the mesh networking to join in and experiment. We can work together and set people up with tunneling. There's a few people that are outside of the line of sight and can't reach each other, and that's when the tunneling comes into play.
What via does the tunneling go in then?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What via does the tunneling go in? You're not depending on any commercial internet.
Yeah, when you do the tunneling, you're using internet backbone. So that's why we want to switch over and try to use the did I still, no, I don't have the shared screen. Yeah, so when you tunnel into places, for example, I know Randy's on board, W3WRN. He's got a AR750 down here in Burien, but he and I are far apart, so he and I could tunnel in, and same way I can tunnel in over to people that are over here. There's folks that are doing a lot of let me zoom out. Oops, no, out. There's a lot of folks up in the Blaine area that have a whole ton of stuff, and they're or Billingham, and they have a lot of MCOM stuff that's going on up there. So they're all linked up over here. And that's what I want to do in the Seattle area. I'd like to work with West Seattle and other folks to really build up our mesh networking and ham WAN. So what we could do is we use the ham WAN to provide the internet portion, and hopefully we don't lose all of the ham WAN in a big earthquake. And if you have just a few service providers that are out, maybe the ham WAN is still working, so you have some internet. And we would use that for our internet backbone to our mesh networking. I'm still learning, but good questions.
Okay, then here's another one for you. This looks like it's still kind of evolving, like you said. If they come up with some type of update, do you have to go through and reinstall all your Arden updates on several pieces of equipment?
So you're usually good, but it does give you the little red banner somewhere in the so when, let me share it again, when you one of these, it highlights it as red, that this guy hasn't been connected since 2020, and he's also running an older version. And if you click on me, it says, oh, he's running the latest version. And then on the nodes themselves, if I switch over here, on the nodes themselves, to upgrade a node is very easy. Let me quit this. And you go over here in the setup, and it's password protected. And here in administration, you have two ways that you can update the firmware. I'm currently on 3.21.4.0. You can either upload it from your laptop, or if you have a internet connection, you can select the firmware here by refreshing. You just did a refresh there. and you can easily update, upgrade, or downgrade depending on what you need to do. So that's how they handle firmware updates. Then they also have packages that are out there. For example, the mesh chat, the mesh chat that I showed you here. This is a APK, a package that you upload using the package uploader, and then there's some that are in the Arden distribution, and you select the packages here. I'll do a refresh on this so you can see it. And this is where you get the different packages like the speed test and the mesh chat. Those are the two services that I currently have going, and you can see that there's a lot of packages that are available for download here. One of the ones that I use right now that is the virtual tunneling. So I can use that when I'm outside and roving around. If I don't have connection back to my home, I could use that tunnel and tunnel into my nodes here at the house. And that's what I'm going to probably end up doing since I don't have a real stable connection right now to the West Seattle, is I'm probably going to ask to do a tunnel so I can have a more stable connection. Again, still learning, lots of fun stuff to learn and do with this.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
On my
Somebody
camping
has an
trip,
Arden.
that this is a complete portable Arden setup, including a lithium ferric battery. There's a camera in there, TP link. The only thing I don't have in there is 100 feet of shielded Ethernet cable that I take with me. But it's everything. The 12-volt battery, I think, what is it? The node itself is 24 volts. So
Right.
let's boost the 12 volts up to 24. But it's complete. Everything's in there, ready to go. You can do what you need. It's that simple.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard and saw videos of. So, Frank, thanks for showing that. Did you say you had a camera to it too? An outdoor camera?
Yeah, there's a camera in the bag here.
Nice. That's the next thing that I want to try to get is a camera, and then I have the voice over IP phone, and I'd like to eventually have a little Raspberry PBX.
Right.
You get that going too.
Keep me posted on that. I'm interested also. I'm working with Ron N4RDZ over here in West Seattle. Ron's been trying to actually set up a backbone.
Right.
And I think I've programmed almost every node that's in use over here.
Cool. Yes. And that's who I'm working with via email to get. I'm real excited to get more folks included in the West Seattle backbone and all of that. Get something established in the greater Puget Sound, Seattle area. So
one of the guys, what is it, N7KUW up in North Seattle. He's up on Northwest 103rd.
Yeah, Carl.
Carl actually has connected with the W7AW at the tower site down here at 12.5 miles.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you saw in my pictures why I can't connect. I've got trees and stuff. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's fun stuff to learn and experiment with. And in the chat, I see Sam was asking if there's Arden in the Kent area. Right now, I don't see anything on the map, but it doesn't show up unless you share your data with the Arden main web page. So,
hey, it's Randy here.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah, I'll just mention that maybe a couple of key points that might help fill in. I think everyone probably knows about HamWAN at this point because it's been around for a few years. It's a really good system, but there's quite a few people that can't get into it. Don't have line of sight to a HamWAN cell site, that sort of thing. So I think the informal vision that we're kind of working to is to try and use Arden as an extension from places where we can get HamWAN. So, for example, we still aspire to get Frank down in the Valley of West Seattle connected, but the mesh is popping up all over West Seattle, and it's fed with HamWAN, as you've mentioned. So, for example, in Kent, there's a little project kicking around that we haven't really kicked off, but the Highline Radio Club has a good relationship with the city of SeaTac, and the SeaTac City Hall sits up on the edge of the valley. And one of the things rolling around in the back of our mind is maybe we should deploy either a small HamWAN site up there, or I think now that we're kind of all rolling into Arden, that could be a really great way to cover the Green River Valley, which is that valley that's hard to serve, right? Some places can get access to East Tiger, but depending on their topography, they might not see it. So maybe we just get some folks in Kent and some folks from the Highline Club and obviously Mike and Key members together, and maybe there's a way to get a node going somewhere that opens up that valley for people. I'll just add those and I'll shut up now.
Yeah, no, Randy, that's great, and you're just the person that I was looking for. I'm glad you're looking to join the Mike and Key. I want to really open this up to all amateur radio folks, no matter what club they're affiliated with. And that's why, I've been with Mike and Key for about 4 years, and then I jump over and I went to Federal Way for a little bit, and now I'm with West Seattle. So I'm jumping around because I love rabbit holes, and I like gear acquisition syndrome. So yeah, thanks Randy for those tips, and we look forward to growing out the mesh networking. And I see that we're bumping up against time, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up with that. I will send an email out to the group MKARCR Groups.io later today with some of the connections. And
yeah, that was some of the questions in the chat. Is posting the links. Lots of good, helpful info. So.
One last thing I want to touch on. There was a question: does rain, hail, or snow interfere with the RF connections? I am not sure, Randy. It seems like I have in and out. Does do we get rain fade on the 2.4 and the 5 gigs for the mesh?
The theorists will tell you that it exists, and you will get attenuation. How that's typically handled is by having path margin in the system. So when you put up a link between maybe your house and Beacon, you're going to have an RF signal level, and for that to work reliably, it's going to have fade margin. Like I would typically want like 20 dB of signal. So the point at which it works barely might be a negative 90 dBm, but hopefully you'd have a signal that's like negative 70 dBm. So when it rains, you cut into your fade margin, but it still mostly works. There's an additional little thing going on with HamWAN and then also Arden, but they're adaptive modem speeds. So when you connect to a HamWAN cell, if you've got a really strong signal, you'll have a higher modulation rate than if you have a weak signal. It's a similar thing. It's all Wi-Fi technology. So if you're really close to a cell site and have a really good signal, like neg 70 dBm, you'll probably get like a 20 megabit or 15 megabit connection. If you got a really janky signal and you're out at neg 95, you might only get a 6 megabit connection. So, and that re-ranging of the speed is kind of like our old modem tones, when you used to dial up on the internet and
oh yeah.
That was basically the modem figuring out what speed it could go. Well, that ranging process can take place. So if you have a really heavy rainstorm and you get rain fade, the signal will drop down, and at certain threshold levels, it will recalculate what it's capable of. So when you're putting up microwave links of any type, don't push them to the edge of the limit, because there's a bunch of things going on there, and try to have always good paths that are nice and clear and work well. Obviously, that's our goal. Don't stretch these hamwind paths for like 30 miles unless that's the only option.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Thanks, Randy. By the way, folks, as you can tell, Randy is very knowledgeable in a lot of cool things. So I'm looking forward to working more with Randy and the West Seattle team. So I will go ahead and wrap it up with that and stop the recording so we can start the meeting. So hang on,
Why don't
folks.
we, while you're doing that,